Sit down. If we could get everyone to sit down, we've got the village board meeting to go through now.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to. All right, we're going to have to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance again because we've got all new people.
With pleasure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Nice unison. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go other amendments to the agenda. All right. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee Pazmino.
Present.
Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Laha.
Present.
And Mayor Yukich.
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, sir. I would like to remove H5 from the consent agenda to I7.
You want to remove it, or you want to move it?
I'm moving it from H5 to I7, please.
All right, so we just take it out.
Move to I5 or I7. It'll be an individual action.
Okay. All right, and that's all we have to do on that one. I7. Okay.
Mayor, I'd also like to propose that we move the workshop ahead of legislative and action items. Typically in the past, when we've had a significant number of people from the community come to hear about certain workshops, or we've moved it up out of courtesy to them, so most of which have no interest in anything on I, so we can get them in and out and home.
Is everyone else okay with that?
Yes.
For clarification, Trustee Rogers, where are you moving it to?
I'm moving it before legislative and action items.
Thank you.
So what are we doing now?
That doesn't.
Yeah, we're not going to go to anything now. All right, so we're not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And recognition. That's the same thing.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Don't.
So this is done. So this is what I have to read right here. Okay. In recognition to the state champion, Homer 33C 8th grade boys baseball team. Congratulations. Congratulations to the Homer 33C varsity baseball team on their state championship win. The team defeated Morton Junior High School 4-1 to secure the title of Class 3A champions. I would now like to recognize Homer Junior teachers and baseball coaches, Joel Button and Mike Mitchell, for leading the team through the season and in the state championship event. Coaches, could you please come up? Okay, I would also like to specifically recognize the team captain, Dan Coyle, who did a great job as a peer leader for the team. And now we recognize the entire team for the outstanding performance. We have a certificate for each team member. The coach will read your name and come up for a certificate. After receiving your certificate, please stay up here so we can do a group photo. I ask the audience to hold their chairs and applause until the team members are up here.
If I could ask the boys to come on up here. As I call your name, can I have Colton Benitis come up by Dan Coyle? Ethan Bilski. Cole Danaher. Zach Falunk. Adam Kozak. David Kundrak could not be here with us tonight. Brendan Metcher. Chris Miller. Hayden Russell. Drew Satunis. Trace Schaff. Jack Sheik. Zach Skripek.
You can't keep up.
These are your 3A state champions.
Yay!
We're gonna take a photo. Can we do 2 lines?
Photo lines. Photo lines.
Coaches get in there, Mayor, please. Get in there. Certificates up. Smile. Very nice, thank you.
Smile.
How about one more round of applause?
No, you know, I used to teach 8th grade. Yeah. I had an 8th grader who had,
Thank you, everyone.
Bring your sheets with
when he was in
Thank you, thank you.
That's right.
by the time he was in my class. I know. They're big.
That's all he is.
And here we thought they were all,
Okay.
well, there's still a good number
All
of
right, so
them.
this is... Okay. Our next is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. As a reminder, fall is a very busy season in Homer Glen with many family activities for residents to enjoy. The Fall Farm Fests are in full swing with thousands of visitors each week, so please drive with extra caution due to the increased traffic and pedestrians and take time to enjoy the fall season in Homer Glen. I'd also like to bring up, for unfortunately, probably the 15th, 20th time, everyone's got to lock up their cars every single solitary night. Some of you are leaving the doors open. You got your garage doors open in there. So now they're not just only stealing the stuff out of the car, they're getting inside the garages and they're stealing stuff out of there. I want to make sure everyone here is safe. And some of the stuff that's happening right now, there's nothing you can do about it. They come in, they go through Tinley, they go through Orland, they go through Lamont, they go through New Lenox. You're just giving them an opportunity to come in here and steal. If everyone does exactly what I'm asking you to do, they won't come in here because they're not going to bust any windows to get out of it. So please, lock the doors, make sure the keys are not in the car, because I don't know if, Lieutenant, how many cars were taken this last weekend? The weekend, 2. All right, and nobody wants that to happen. So please just lock the doors. Next we'll go to the trustees and we'll go to Trustee Consolino.
Good evening, Homer Glen. I just wanted to give a big shout out tonight to both our fire departments for their excellent response last month for the fire that occurred over in Victoria Crossing. Also, it's leaf burning season. Please be advised, as we're talking about fires, to follow the guidelines that accompany your permit. And that is all for my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Trustee Laha?
Thank you. First, I'd like to offer my congratulations to the Homer Junior High team. I know that they just left as an alumni. This is a really cool thing to see, so congratulations for bringing it home to Homer Glen. Next, I'll be reporting on the Ability Awareness Committee. The committee would like to recognize that October holds many important awareness dates: National ADHD Awareness Month, National Down Syndrome Awareness Month, National Physical Therapy Month, Spina Bifida Awareness Month, and World Cerebral Palsy Day was on October 6th. This month, instead of a traditional meeting, the committee decided to volunteer at the Lockport Best Buddies event. The Best Buddies program offers one-to-one friendship, integrated employment and leadership development programs for individuals with and without developmental disabilities. Thank you to committee member Heather Bleck and the Lockport Best Buddies program for having us. We really enjoyed our time, and please feel free to reach out to us for any further activities that you have. We'd love to be involved. Surveys. In order for our surveys to get to our senior committee who may not have internet access, we visited Victorian Village, and dropped off surveys and some candy, and it was a really nice visit. We're in the process of working on an event with them, obviously being cognizant of COVID barriers, but we are excited to try to be creative and think outside the box to give them a really nice visit and holiday event. We plan to discuss the results of the surveys we've already received at the next committee meeting and begin our planning to make sure we meet those needs and requests under the scope of the committee. We have been getting quite a few comments that aren't under the scope of the committee, and I can assure you we are passing them along to the board here, so they are being seen and heard. Our website tab keeps improving with resources, links now available. We currently have links for the Lincoln Way Special Rec Association, the Northern Will County Special Rec Association, and we now have a seniors resources link. Our next meeting will be November 2nd, and we'll also be having 2 guest speakers, Mike Seelep from the Northern Will County Special Rec Association and Brandon Ajumani. Moving on to Parks and Recs, I believe Rosie's going to cover a lot more of this. We obviously have a lot going on with our Parks and Recs, and I think we had a really productive IGA Township meeting, so I'm really excited for the possibilities and these opportunities that will be presented, and I really feel this is a huge gain for the village. We have some really exciting conversations that are happening right now as far as future development goes, and I feel this is going to be a really exciting time for residents as we continue to build our beautiful parks. Of course, these things are not going to happen overnight, but I truly feel that this is a strong foundation and a step in the right direction. Our committee is going to be busy, no doubt, but all good things, so I'm looking forward to that. We've also been planning the Homer for the Holidays event for our big tree lighting ceremony on December 4th. We were awarded the Powering the Holidays Light Grant, so we're working hard to make sure it's an amazing time for all ages. A big thank you to Amy Blank, she's sitting right here in the front, for helping us receive that grant, and Sue Stylen for all the time and effort going into planning this exciting night. We have some really cool new things planned, and so I'm really excited for that, and I think it's something to look forward to. And that's my report.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Rogers.
We met this past week regarding the Veterans Day event that Konos has annually hosted for us, and we've worked in conjunction with them. It is November the 7th from noon to 2:30. Various events similar to what we've done in the past, but we are looking for some volunteers for that day from about 11 to 3. Would be good for basically just setting up and cleaning up and various tasks that we have. So if you're interested in volunteering, if you could just send me an email and we can touch bases that way. Regarding community and economic development, we did not have a meeting this past week due to a lack of an agenda, but I know myself personally have been reaching out to some businesses and speaking to them about the new grant program and encouraging them to review the website and the link and understand if there's anything there that they could apply for. So we've had some really good feedback on that as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Pasmino.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry about that. Usually I'm reporting the nice, happy events, but unfortunately there's some things that are striking close home that kind of get you right here, and I thought I'd bring it forward. Lately there have been a slew of break-ins, vandalism, and robberies across our wonderful town, and a few of them are from local kids. Just as a reminder to our resident parents out there, please talk to your kids. Know where they're at late at night and help prevent unfortunate or, God forbid, even a tragic circumstance. In the heat of the moment, some kids may think it's funny and cool to destroy property, but no one ever thinks of the true damage created by these thoughtless acts. People's livelihoods are being destroyed, and a reality that we used to see on TV and the news is materializing. The worst part is that it's happening when our small businesses are just barely starting to recover from shutdowns. Liability insurance rates are skyrocketing, inflation has started to increase the cost of goods and services, and employees are scarce. Our businesses have enough to deal with. I ask parents, or anybody for that matter, who know about these events and the people involved to please do the right thing, and if you're not reporting them to the authorities, to at least have a conversation with the parents and the kids. In the end, this is a community together. We have to make it thrive and not tear it down. And as we all know, small business is one of the main components of this community. Let us protect them and let us support them. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Renders?
I would just like to reiterate a lot of what Nicole had stated. We're working on a lot of things to move our Parks and Recreation Department forward. We've been consulting with a lot of different companies regarding splash pads, ice arenas. So we're looking to build upon our park in the next coming year. And we're going to be looking for some insight from our community to see basically what their needs and wants and priorities are. But it's very exciting to talk to some people about the splash pads and about the ice rink. And also moving forward with the acquisition of the parks, our committee is going to be building a foundation for each one of the parks to see what the use of the parks are going to be. So basically, we're really excited about that. And also, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that our Homer for the Holidays is December 4th. And we're working on that. And this year is going to be probably bigger and better than ever. And that's my report.
Trunk or treat.
Thank you, Trustee.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, forgot about trunk or treat.
Go ahead. Tell them.
The date, I can't remember the date. Nicole, what's the date of trunk or treat?
The 23rd.
23rd? The 23rd. Everybody, we still need people for the trunk or treat. We don't actually have as many as we did last year. We're putting our feelers out there, so if anybody wants to come and join us for that, we will welcome you. And bring the kids. That's my report.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko.
Thank you, Mayor Yukich. There is nothing to report for ANF or the Fest, but I would like to make a comment. We have people in our community that are pillars in our community and are great examples to our youth of today. And we have a couple here that will be celebrating their 51st anniversary on October 23rd. And I just would like for everybody to give them a nice round of applause. But they have a house in this community for a long time. They've raised a family in this community. And they also have a business in this community. So if you guys could please stand up and we can give you a nice round of applause for your 51 years. That's my report, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That was nice, Dan.
All right, next would be the village clerk.
I just want to say I appreciate all of your reports today, and I'm sure the residents do too. Thank you, Ruben, especially because that kind of hit home in your report, so thank you.
All right, village attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
Village attorney 2.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This will be very brief, but I do have a brief presentation that I'd like to make to the village board concerning the status of the search for a village manager. I'd like to ask the village board if we can go into closed session at the end of the meeting so that I can discuss it with you.
Yes.
Okay. Public safety officials.
Just a quick report, Mayor. On the heels of what the mayor and trustee Pazmino had to say, everybody, just want to remind you once again, I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but lock your vehicles, don't leave valuables in your vehicle, and take your keys into your house. The theft of vehicles throughout not only Homer, but the southwest suburbs as a whole, I want everybody to realize that it continues to be crimes of opportunity. The overwhelming majority of the thefts are the result of vehicles being left unlocked and keys and/or fobs in the vehicle. I'm not blaming the victims. I want everybody to realize that. The offenders are to blame. They shouldn't be out there stealing stuff. I get that, okay? But we want to deter them as much as possible, okay? Likewise, a couple of businesses had smash and grabs. A neighboring community had that as well. I can't emphasize enough to the public the necessity of calling the police if there's anything suspicious. Don't hesitate. We'd rather be called, show up, and have it be nothing than to find out a day later what was going on, and then it's too late. Our officers are very vigilant. They're out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what. What's not reported are the numerous times potential thieves are thwarted by traffic stops, extra patrols, let's see, I said that. Focused enforcement resulting from statistics and intelligence we gather, sharing with neighboring departments. I want everybody to know that one theft is too many, okay? We don't take anything for granted here. But Homer continues to have some of the best stats in the state because we work together, the community and the police, okay? So I want to thank the community for working hand in hand with us, the mayor, the board, and village staff as well, because we're all a community, we're like a family, we got to do this together. And that's my report. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And last, interim village manager.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Next would be public comment. If you could keep it to 3 minutes, it would be absolutely wonderful. There's a lot of it about Country Woods, so if it's been discussed, we don't need to hear about it 2 or 3 times. We'll listen to you, but let's see what we got on here. Jimmy and Jen Carosino.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Krasonic. I'm a resident of Country Woods. Yesterday we discovered through the neighborhood that there was a proposed development by a developer outside onto the north of Country Woods behind the other Cypress division. The question we have is just a simple question based on transparency and value add. Value add, I mean, what value is it going to bring to our community by having using the infrastructure currently in Country Woods? It's a closed subdivision. It was purchased, a lot of people, newer families, have purchased into this neighborhood as a closed subdivision. Adding another subdivision, using the HOA, using the maintenance, the serenity of Country Woods in order to build another subdivision that will access it, but then there'll be technically a standalone. In retrospect, it's a question of transparency. Why did the community of Country Woods find out about this yesterday? Why was there no communication to the residents of Country Woods about what the intentions were? How did a plot of land with one access point to 151st Street all of a sudden get potentially sold? It's contingent. Not having an access point, it was meant to be for one resident. Now they want to build 16 homes, townhomes. So what was the transparency based on elected officials who are here to represent our community that was given to this developer to say, we might do something for you? But yet it was hush-hush for the members of Country Woods. There's still people in our community today that probably don't even know this is happening. And why is this happening? I'm not going to talk about kids playing in the street, or it's always been this way. What I'm asking for consideration is that this is a community that has developed on their own. It's peaceful and serenity, and what value add are you bringing to our community by asking us to say yes? I can't think of one. But then the question to you is, what value add is it bringing to Homer Glen? And I can't think of one. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. What do you say? Dave. Karen. You're in there. All right, Dave and Karen, I'm not going to kill the name. Pasiak, okay.
Yes, I'm Dave Pasiak, and I also live in Country Woods with my wife Karen. And I'm not going to repeat everything that Jimmy just said, because I agree with exactly what he said. It would have been nice to know about this, so we could have maybe had a meeting at Country Woods and discuss this among everybody. But I will leave it to one question with regards to, if this even goes through, what if there is another property adjacent to this one that goes in, and they don't have an access to 151st or somewhere else? Is there any guarantee that we would have, that nothing like that would happen, so that we don't have more people going through Country Woods at another point in time? That's it.
Thank you, Dave. Rick Jago.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, we moved to Country Woods 24 years ago when our kids were little. And the reason why we moved there is because it was safe, and the streets were safe, and the kids could ride their bikes on the street because there wasn't much traffic except for the people that lived there. And our kids have grown up, but I've watched the whole neighborhood totally transition. All the older folks like us have moved out, and all these young families have moved in, and they've got little kids. They're running all over the neighborhood. I live on the corner of Arlene and Dogwood, which Dogwood is the one they want to extend into this new thing, and I watch out there every single day with these little kids riding their bikes and their little trucks and all that on the street. And if you also all of a sudden bring all these people through our subdivisions, Country Woods, to go into duplexes, which there are no duplexes anywhere in our subdivision. They're all single-family homes. I think that you're making a grievous mistake. And I just feel bad for these young families that decided to move into Homer Glen, and specifically into Country Woods, because of its safety. And I think you are definitely jeopardizing that if you approve that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Pamela Slowski. Or Salowski.
As I made a visual sector, there's no AV, so I'm just going to have my husband walk with pictures, if that's okay. But yeah, my name is Pamela Solowski, and I've lived in Homer Glen for over 4 years. I was drawn to the area because of the rural feel, being surrounded by nature, and that's what our town prides itself in. I'm extremely concerned to hear about a possible rezoning on the land that was originally intended to be zoned A2 to now an R6A. So in other words, going from something intended to be a single-family residential to something that would allow multifamily buildings that can range from townhouses or even apartment buildings. You can walk around if you'd like. Based on the agenda, I would like to request time to make comments after the workshop, which is listed J on the agenda tonight, so that we residents have a chance to respond. From what I understand, there's a developer proposing to take 4.5 acres of forest and make it into a new subdivision that interferes with this existing subdivision that we are calling Country Woods, which is over 24 years old. There's a cost-saving idea by this developer to put a single entry into this new subdivision for these proposed 16 townhouses, using a current dead-end street called Dogwood. So in 1990, this was originally planned to be a street called 153rd, but thankfully, the village abandoned that idea, vacated the land, and put a no-access easement. Right now, that dead end is a local hangout for the nearby children, as my neighbors have already mentioned. Within the 4 closest houses, there are 10 children who actually enjoy being outside. So it's typical to see any of these kids riding their bikes their bikes, their scooters, racing their remote control cars, driving Power Wheels, playing a game of pickup basketball. You know, summertime, we're catching fireflies, finding worms, toads, garter snakes, etc. You can hear coyotes barking and howling, and this is like what makes our community so exciting and lovely to live in. So in this modern age, we prefer our kids to be immersed in nature and away from screen time, and if we're really gonna destroy this easily accessible slice of nature that's literally in our backyards, it's a bad idea. It's just a significant change to imagine this dead end destroyed and replaced with a very busy street for 16 families, not to mention all the construction traffic that would be needed to build that subdivision. With consideration to this, it's also important to see if the town of Homer Glen values the current residents and their concerns over a new developer and his proposal to make a larger profit by using our existing quiet roads. There's also a gorgeous and lush tree line that's on the chopping block. So from my kitchen, I can appreciate this gigantic oak tree. I can see the acorns, all the wildlife species, so things from squirrels and woodpeckers, blue jays, raccoons, etc. So to cut that down would be like horrible and probably even, I could say, hypocritical to what Homer Glen prides itself in, which is the harmony in nature motto. Consider the edge effect, so an ecological perspective, which is the change that would happen due to the habitat degradation and loss. In summary, I ask that the board members seriously consider the impact of allowing a crucial zoning change from a single-family home to multifamily, multi-homes, and the critical impact that this would have on the existing residents and the wildlife who are used to a very peaceful neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Vale.
I'm Chris Vale. I have lived in Homer Glen Woods subdivision 4 years. I was drawn to the area due to the spread out houses with peaceful feel, low traffic, and harmony with nature. I have spent thousands of dollars to beautify my backyard to accent the existing forest behind my property, which is being considered for, a multi-family home. It worries me to hear of an idea using the quiet street of Arlene Drive, the dead end of Dogwood, which is only 2 homes on it now. I have many questions of how it can safely be done with neighborhood kids, running around and all that. Once the development is built, how can the addition of 16 homes and all the drivers not add a noticeable negative impact on the previously peaceful street of Arlene? I'm curious how adding 16 families and ruining a mature tree line fits in the Homer Glen motto of community and harmony. Finally, I fail to see how adding a subdivision through an existing subdivision makes sense. Would the new homes need to fit with the policies, the codes of the existing HOA, using single entrance that is paid for by Country Road HOA? How does the existing subdivision benefit? We would see more traffic, more noise, more pollution, and for what benefit? Another issue is the rainwater drainage has been an ongoing issue. I'd like to hear how the developer plans to address this and ensure that adding more concrete would not worsen the serious situation. I hope all the board members can vote no to allow the zoning of the change of the forested area. Allowing one family to build versus 16 families to move on is a terrible idea. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Jeffrey and Karen Kowski.
Good evening, everyone. I do live in the Countrywood subdivision as well. We actually moved there over the 4th of July weekend this past year. So even though we've been a short-term tenant, my wife and I probably looked at about 30 or 40 homes specifically in Homer Glen because of the reputation this town has. When we came across the house on Arlene Drive, which we currently live in, we found our forever home. I think by letting this proposed subdivision come into play would maybe not necessarily ruin the area, but it just won't be the same. And finding our forever home was our lifelong goal. To hear something like this, which we just found out about this yesterday, struck me as kind of heartbreaking, to be honest with you. I do work for a trucking company, so I do know how truck traffic, what it does to roads, the carbon footprint it puts on the planet in general. But yes, I hope this does not go through, but like I said, we've only been living there since July, and I just really like to see it not happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tony Filio?
Hello, how's everybody doing? Well, first of all, I want to come up just to kind of express, as everybody's been saying, I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared because I found out about this through group text. I didn't know if it was 24 hours ago. So I have a billion things in my head, a billion things I threw out through the group text, all because there's so much fear, uncertainty of what this possibly could do to my family, my home, my neighbors, for it. So I'll give you a little background. Me and my wife, we bought 3.5 years ago or so. My son is 3 years old. We bought this home, we picked it out for my son, who was just about ready to get born. Because we love the layout, we love the security, we love the fact there's not a bunch of traffic, so pushed away, and we just love the style of the homes within the neighborhood. So, sorry, as I was saying here, wasn't prepared. A lot of the stuff that I was thinking about was fear. First thing I gotta ask, what's the construction timeline of this? What's it gonna mean to my home? How many construction trucks coming in and out? And we all know that 2006, sorry, I can't talk in a mask. We had had a housing crisis. And what happened during that? A lot of undeveloped properties started, stopped, slabs in the ground. Who knows what happened? So I have fear in my head of what if this housing boom falls to another collapse? We don't know. Other things I talked about, traffic. More and more everybody's delivering Amazon, more FedEx trucks, more Uber Eats, more UPS trucks, all coming into this area. It's just gonna make it so much more with this many homes. It's also, that area, it's a bus stop for children. So we're gonna add all this construction, all these new FedEx, all UPS trucks, 16 families means at least 32 more cars coming in and out every day. I say at least because they got family, friends, everything's gonna add there. And one last thing here. You guys talked right away about crime. Talked about crime and talked about opportunity. You did, Mayor. What is going to add 16 more families, 32 more cars to a very close subdivision? More opportunity for the criminals. So I'd like to end with that little thought because you pushed that so hard during this meeting. It obviously gives more opportunity for more crime within a closed community.
Thank you. Ernie Geiches?
Good evening. Ernie Geiches. I've been living in Country Woods for 26 years now, and I'm on the Homeowners Association board, and I just agree with everything everybody already said. Nothing to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you. And last would be Brian Hertz.
I'm just here to speak during the workshop.
Okay. All right. Do we address some of them now, or no? Well, when we get to this and we start talking about it, we can give you.
Excuse me, Mayor, they can't hear you in the back of the room.
Dawn Sims. It's all right.
I am Dawn. I grew up in Homer Glen, moved out for a short period of time in my younger adulthood. and now have chosen Homer Glen to raise my family. I have a blended family here in Country Woods. I do live on the Arlene Drive, right just kitty corner off of Dogwood. What drew my family here was the private subdivision, the quiet, the nature, knowing my kids would be safe playing. My daughter, we just found out about this, and my daughter wanted to write something for everybody to hear. She's attending Homer Junior High as an honor roll 7th grader. She writes, I believe the cul-de-sac should not be built on Dogwood Drive. I believe this because me and my siblings love playing there along with the little girls that live on that road. Also, even if the road was built, then all the big trucks would cause traffic, causing the people that live in the Country Woods to have trouble getting in and out of the neighborhood. Please also think about the kids' perspective. Signed by Annabelle Sims, my daughter. Just want to implore all of you to think of the kids' safety and of the kids and of your best interests of your Homer Glen residents that already reside here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay. Now we go into consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? 1, the accounts payable for the period of September 24th, 2021 through October 14th, 2021, the amount of $297,179.59. 2, payment of the Village of Homer Glen's August legal bills, Mahoney, Silverman, and Cross, LLC, in the amount of $10,091.25. Number 3, payment of the final loan payment to KS State Bank for 2 trucks in the amount of $132,153.76. Number 4, pay estimate number 3 from Austin Tyler Construction for the 2020 drainage improvement in the amount of $171,091.55. We're not doing that one. And then the reduction of a letter of credit for gas and wash development, the new amount of $104,965.60 in accordance with village code. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Rogers?
Second.
Rose?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Renders. Discussion.
Mayor, on page 4 of the paid invoice listing, down where it's Heritage FS Inc., I just have a couple of questions on all this fuel that was $17,000 worth of fuel. Is that for 1 month?
I could touch on that.
Thank you.
The village owns a fuel pump station now as part of the road district transfer, so we purchase the fuel and then we invoice the taxing bodies that get fuel at that station. So the sheriffs and the fire districts get their fuel as well as our parks in the township as well. So we purchase that, but we invoice the respective taxing bodies. So that's not all consumed by the village.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to follow up from Rose. So that comes out of Fund 50, though?
Yes. Wait, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly.
No, so the account number column there.
Could you take off your mask, please?
Sure. So the account number column there starts with 10.
Okay.
10, so that coincides with the general fund.
So not 50 at the end, it's 10 at the beginning?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you look at the budget, it's broken down. It has hyphens for each line item number, so the 10 coincides with the general fund.
Perfect, thank you.
So I have one more question, Matt. So on these expenses, is any of that reimbursed, or is that just paid straight out? And
Yes, a lot of that is reimbursed. Anything that the village is not using. We had this arrangement in the past. When the road district owned it, the village would pay the road district to use their gas. Now it's flipped, so the sheriff's department, the fire districts, the township, and the sheriff's department all use it, and we bill them on a regular basis. Yes, I believe so.
So when it is paid back, it's under what line item or what cost center does that fall in?
In terms of where the money comes back in the revenue, I am not sure, Trustee Pesman.
All right, well, you don't have to get it now, but,
Sure.
Can you get that for us then, maybe by the next meeting? Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Now we're doing a workshop.
Okay. Where's workshop?
Concept reviews.
Okay. I gotta put these on. Cheater time. Okay. All right, so what do we?
It's just a concept. You can turn it over to Matt.
Okay. Matt, we're going to turn this over to you because the workshop is concept review 12129 West 151st Street development by Midwest Property Development LLC. We'll let you explain it.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to provide some brief background before handing it over to George Arnold to go over the concept. So the idea behind this workshop item is just to get feedback from the village board for the developer. Just so everyone in the room knows that this was not a formal application for a concept. If the developer wanted to move forward, they would formally submit and go through a planning and zoning review. And then we would be required to send notices out to the residents within a certain distance of the proposal. So the village board is not taking final action on this item today. It's just to get feedback before the developer submits for if they decide to proceed for formal approval. So this is just, there's not an action item. This is not getting approved. There's no construction timeline at this time. I'm sure Mr. Arnold can touch on the plans and some of the other concerns, but I just want to provide some background that this is just to get some feedback from the village board. It's similar to what we did at the committee of the whole a few weeks ago for the proposed subdivision immediately to the west of Glenview Walk.
Matt, can I ask a question? When was this actually brought to the village?
I don't know exactly the time, but it was a few months ago.
A few months ago?
When the developer reached out to staff.
Is there any other questions or?
I think at this time we would just have Mr. Arnold come up to the podium just to go over the concept.
And then we could probably
One
ask
quick question,
questions
Matt.
after.
Was there an attempt to let the HOA that's adjacent to that to this proposal, was there an attempt to let the HOA president at least know of the intent?
That was our intent. We just realized that that was not done, so I apologize for that. This was part of the agenda on Friday. I apologize to HOA for being startled about that information. But as I said before, this is not a formal approval, so at that time, if the developer were to move forward, there would be mailings and postcards delivered to the residents.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, do you want me to proceed?
Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is George Arnold. I'm the attorney for the developer. My address is 9501 West 144th Place in Orland Park. The developer is also here. His name is John LaFlamboy of Midwest Property Development. He's been a builder for over 45 years. He's also built several things here in Homer Glen. We also have the rest of our project team here if the board has any additional technical questions. But I know you all have seen the packet, so I won't belabor it. It's a pretty straightforward development. It's a straightforward concept. It's 8 duplexes, so therefore 16 units on, I think, approximately 5¼ acres. And as the residents to the south have said, the access would be through the current stub street of the Country Woods subdivision. and it would end in a cul-de-sac. We believe the cul-de-sac is a benefit to everybody because it would prevent cut-through traffic. We think the 16 units is a pretty small impact, and if we go forward, I'm sure we can produce traffic studies showing the relative impact of 16 residential units. Our target audience is older adults looking to downsize but remain in their community. One of the things I know Homer Glen seeks to do is have a viable option for that category of person where they can stay in their community but have a nice product. And Matt, could you switch to the elevations of our product? No. Well, then you can't switch to it. I'll just hold up my picture. So I think the board has this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Like to show the audience if you'd like to see it. Want to pass around, you can? No. Good. Anyway, so it's we would plan to meet or exceed certainly all of your design standards. I think you can see from that product, it's a very it's a sharp product. It would be a price point of $450,000 to $500,000, and again, we think it meets a need in the village, and it's it's a nice pocket development where again somebody in that demographic can downsize, but without losing the neighborhood feel that they're accustomed to in a town like Homer Glen. I would like to address some of the neighbors' comments, and I'll reiterate what Matt Walsh said is, and I know the board knows this, obviously we're not doing anything behind the scenes. We just simply asked for a concept review. There's no notice required, and this is not an action item by the board. There's nothing we're asking you to formally do. We wanted to get your input, and that's what we're seeking, your input. And having said that, I'm glad the neighbors did come because it is nice to hear the concerns of the neighbors, and we certainly do want to address them, and I'd like to do that now if I can. One of the, I think, questions was what value does this add to the village? And I think, as I said, having an option for your older citizens that wish to downsize but remain is a big value in having a continuity of community. It also, in that demographic, creates a tax base without burdening the schools, but yet we'll pay taxes and stuff like that, so that's a value. One of the concerns was, if we're going to be cutting through the association, but they're bearing the burden through the association fees, I think that's well put. And certainly my client would be happy to discuss with the association, being a part of that association and paying their fair share. So I think that's well stated, and we're happy to participate, not looking to, have anybody bear the burden of something that we're not bearing. Traffic or construction traffic, that was brought up a couple times. Again, more than understandable. We believe we will not have any construction traffic going through Country Woods, while that road that goes from this land to 151st is not wide enough to have a regular road. It is probably wide enough for us to have construction traffic. So we believe we can do this with no construction traffic impact on the Country Woods. One of the concerns I know was if we ask for rezoning of multifamily, that opens it up to apartment buildings and so forth, and again, understandable concern, but as the board knows, our request would be limited strictly to this development. We wouldn't be saying, give us R6A, we can build wherever we want. In fact, our density is well below the R6A. I think it's six units per acre, and I think we're under 4 units per acre. So we're not that far off, if at all, from the Country Woods density, I believe. So it would not open anybody up to having to have apartment buildings or anything like that there. So I think one of the other concerns, which is again understandable, is detention. Are we going to create flooding in the area? Obviously, we will comply with all of the village's engineering requirements. We'll provide for our own water. We will not be allowed, nor will we seek to burden any neighboring development with our flow of water, and that will all be approved and reviewed by the village engineers. That's all the notes I took during the concerns raised by the neighbors, but I certainly would like to answer any other questions that you have. And
yes, sir, I got one. Just really quick, thanks for coming, by the way, I appreciate it. What do you project, assuming this happens, the construction time, the completion time of that whole project?
Yeah, good question. John, do you would answer?
Year and a half. Year and a half, okay.
You just, for the microphone, year and a half.
And also, isn't it true that you definitely did try to create an entrance off of 151st Street originally for this project?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I think my understanding is, and I'll let John speak to it if he wishes, but my understanding is it can't happen because it's too narrow and there's not enough.
Right, but you did
we looked at
try
that
to,
option, yes.
you did look at that option
Yes.
of coming off of 151st Street.
Correct.
I asked Mike Selmovich about this the other day. Mike, would you be able to explain why we can't have that access? Or Joe, thank you.
The village's minimum right-of-way requirements are 66 feet, so obviously that piece of property wouldn't facilitate a full right-of-way in that area, so.
Now, Mike, does it take in both of, because there is a resident that lives in the back there already, so they have a flag road, but the flag road that we're talking about for this property is actually to the east of the road that's there already, right? Because there's an open space of so many feet to the east of the road that's actually there. So in combination, if something was to be worked out, would we be able to work around that issue by doing some type of agreement where both of those pieces of property would then be used in combination, one for what the new cul-de-sac property would be and for the resident that lives back there already? Is that possible?
I mean, anything's possible, but what they would have to do is there would have to be some kind of an agreement with both of those property owners to actually ultimately someone, I don't know if it would be somebody purchasing the other person's property, but ultimately that would be then turned over or dedicated as right-of-way and ultimately turned over to the village. So it's not just a access agreement, it would end up having to be right-of-way.
As far as I can tell, there are just 2 houses back in there currently, right?
I am not sure how many.
There's like...
It looks like there's
Yeah.
2.
All the way to the end of the road?
Yes.
And Mike, could you explain the other thing that we were discussing about what the original purpose of that dead-end road is, unfortunately, over in Country Woods?
I mean, obviously, when the Country Woods was developed, there were intentions to extend that road and connect to another development or whatever at some point.
So previous to Country Woods being the estate that it is where these houses are, and this was way before our time, do you know that property once was A1 or A2 property previous to it being the community it is now?
I am not sure what the zoning was. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, that Dogwood Road, was that, because you had mentioned that was originally created to possibly one day be an extension, was that from the original developer that created Country Woods, or was that just something?
I believe that was from the original development, but I would have to verify that.
And isn't it true that there was also a road that went from Will Cook Road that is actually on the back side of all those houses that line up to this project?
There was actually a right-of-way that I believe was identified as, I believe that was 153rd Street that went east-west. Ultimately, at some point, that right-of-way was vacated. Okay. And each portion, I believe, was ultimately provided or dedicated, donated to each of those property owners.
I'm sorry, I also have like a weird question because like when I was trying to research the property and the history, with the homes that are on Arlene Drive, the village gave them an extension on their property. Does anybody know when or why we did that? Why we extended their lots?
Oh. Yeah, I believe that was that was when 153rd Street, that right-of-way was vacated.
Okay, so that was what Rose was talking, that was just the extension of, okay.
My understanding and going on to 151st Street isn't possible because this owner, this potential owner of this property wouldn't own, would have no access there because he doesn't own it, correct? So we would have to get, you would have to, similar to what we're doing on 100 right out here, we would have to get them to sell the right-of-way. Yes. In order to do that. So So that is, I think, ultimately the issue, not so much so that, the other issue is our ordinance, but they just don't own that property in order to do it. But relative to the project itself, I love the design of the homes. I think they're beautiful, and they do fit the need, one of the needs that the residents are looking for here, and that is for the older people in the community to stay in the community, but to maybe get out of a bigger, older home. So the outside design of it, I love it. What I was wondering if it's possible is the 5 and the 3 to flip it so that the 3 are their backyards. It's less dense and less invasive to that the existing developments that's there. I don't know. I don't have the engineering drawings I'm not an engineer to see if that's even possible to move it from 5 to 3, to just flip it so that the more 5 are on the side that would then butt up to the vacant area.
I think there's the retention pond, I think, might be the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if maybe they can move some things around and try to do that. It would be less invasive for it.
So split the east and the west.
Right.
I see.
And I do hear the residents and their concerns about, the kids playing and things like that, but I did notice in the pictures that there is a sidewalk in there. Am I correct? Yes?
Yes.
My other issue obviously would always be the fire department would have to review this for access. I'm not sure what their thoughts are going to be on it. So
Trustee Rogers, I do have a letter from the fire district. They don't comment on the access. They have no problem with it as long as the following conditions are met, the suppression systems, and they'll review the hydrant locations when the final plans are submitted.
Okay. I know there was some concerns about the roads and the HOA, and I think it's important because sometimes people get confused. The roads are not owned by the HOA. The village, the residents of Homer Glen own the roads. They maintain the roads. So I know that you had some concerns of how would that impact your HOA fees, but that doesn't affect you. They don't. The village will plow and take care of those roads. In relative to the transparency, I just want to speak to that because that is something that has always been important to me. Unfortunately, we don't have a village newspaper anymore, and when we did have it, it was a great tool. People could find out about things ahead of time. But this is transparency. This is why we do this, so that we can talk about it. And again, it's just a concept. It's not something that's up for vote. It still has to go through several steps before it gets there. So this is more just hearing what the board itself their thoughts are, and then again, it still has a lot more steps to go through, and the residents of your community will be notified once it comes up for public hearing. And you'll probably see a lot of changes potentially to this plan before that, because there's some massaging that probably needs to be done. But overall, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a great development, and I think it'd be great for the village.
Thank you. I agree with Trustee Rogers as far as transparency. This is the first step. This is the first step in that transparency process, I guess you could say. But I have a question. As far as I know, Country Woods does not have a park over there, do they? And in addition to, if this subdivision was to make it through, I don't see any plans for a park maybe on the end that would be that southeast end. There's no plans to put any type of facility like that in that project, correct?
Yeah, not currently. I think the demographic target would probably not be one that would necessarily make sense to have parks, but we're certainly going to comply with the village park donation requirement and all that stuff. But you're correct. There's nothing currently on these plans that would provide a park for
the other question I would have, if you want to combine an HOA, obviously the townhouses will require a different amount of care than the houses that are there now. So that being like when a roof needs to be replaced, the grass being mowed, and several other maintenance issues. So I don't know if you're able to put that together, if you've seen that done before, but really you have two different things that have to work together here.
Sure, and that's a good point and a good question. And keep in mind, we were not looking to combine them, but when I heard the, the concern from the neighbors tonight for the first time, I did have an opportunity to speak to my client real quick, and he said, sure, we'd be happy to look at sharing that burden. And to your question, I have seen that done, and oftentimes with different, types of developments, we create a master association, and then, associations within that, so that nobody, as you said, the homeowners would not be burdened with the roof repair of the townhomes, because that wouldn't make sense. The idea would be to unburden them, not to burden them, but that can be worked out. It may not make sense. I mean, as the Trustee Rogers pointed out, I thought maybe at first the roads were private and belong to the association, but if they don't, I mean, there may not be much of a burden at all from this in terms of money to the association, but if there is, we're certainly happy to look at it and do what's fair and reasonable for everybody.
And one more thing to recognize, that little road, the flag road that's comes off of 151st Street, I've walked that property out there. It's a small little road. It's a brittle road already. It's not in the best shape. And for access from the north section off 151st, I don't know if you've walked that out at all. As far as I know, that flag road that you'd be using isn't paved. And therefore, I don't know, you're going to be working for a year and a half in the ruts and everything. I don't know how you would address that, but as far as using the road that's already there, the asphalt that's partly fallen apart, I can see that being a problem right now with the people who actually own that road.
Sure.
So I don't know what your challenge is there, but I'm sure if that's the plan to come from the north, you have your challenge before you in regards to that issue.
Thank you.
I have one last question. I didn't hear anybody say it tonight, but there were comments that I saw on social media regarding Country Woods. People were concerned about Section 8. They were concerned about low-income housing going in there. And what I did hear tonight was they were talking about multi-homes, high density. Can you explain how much the homes are going for that you're looking to put in? And do you actually have any comparables that you can provide for us of homes that are similar either in Homer Glen or near Homer Glen?
Yeah, sure. And I don't have any comparables with me, but I can tell you the price point is $450 to $500. And, if you've seen the elevations, while, aesthetics are, in the eye of the beholder, so I'm not going to sit here and say everybody has to love it, but you can certainly see the quality will demand a certain price point. So the price point is kind of protected by the quality of the home that is being built. And there will not be, it's not going to be Section 8, it's only going to be 16 units.
Sir, I have a question. Would you guys be willing to set up a meeting maybe a little farther along with the HOA? Because I'm sure there's a lot of members who weren't able to make it today.
Yes.
Under circumstances. Of course. And I'm sure we would have no problem providing the room for you guys to meet with them, because you never know. I mean.
No, it's a good idea. We'd be happy to. We want to be good neighbors. We are happy to hear the concerns. We want to address people's concerns where we can and explain what we're doing and what we're trying to do, and we're happy to have that meeting.
Right. And then that way you could give them a little more notice, true transparency.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so what Mr. Hodge just handed to me, so that everybody knows, for the record, I'm going to pass it around, is comparables that are showing sold prices, not what it just is listed. A lot of sold prices are anywhere from like 420s all the way up to 509.
Then I do have comparables with me.
So I'm going to pass this around. Oh, here. And that's also something that should be brought to any kind of information meeting with any.
Thank you.
About the name of the addition? If it is to be built, what would the name of that subdivision be called?
Sure. I'm not sure they've chosen a name, but we certainly would be happy to.
Using Country Woods entrance, how is it differentiated to its own?
It's a good question. We certainly would be happy to differentiate it. We would not be using your name.
I heard a few rumblings, not sure if it's confirmed, but the villas at Country Woods was one of the ones I heard that was proposed, not 100%, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe one of you guys.
I've heard that name as well, and it's certainly, you know, like I said, I don't think we've formally chosen the name, but it's certainly something we're happy to discuss with the board or hear the concerns of the adjoining property owners and discuss it.
I have a quick question. When it comes to the flag road, the comment was made that road is not owned. Can you explain to me either it is owned or it isn't owned as part of that piece of property? Is it just being used for access, or do you actually own that piece of property, and so does the other two tenants or two residents that live to the south of there? Do they own their road? Because I'm unfamiliar with flag roads myself.
Sure.
If you could explain that.
So we are currently the contract purchaser, so I cannot answer that and say we definitely own it or don't. I can only look at the tax map that is in your packet, and to me it looks like it is a flag lot, which means we would own that. I think it's a 20-foot section out to 151st. But I'm only telling you what I'm seeing, you know, on that county record. I have not looked at the survey yet of this property, so I can't definitively tell you that, but I think that's the case. I think this is a flag lot, or a key lot, if you will, and we would own that small strip as part of it.
So if the subdivision was built...
Sir, I do have somebody who can answer your question.
Yeah, so I started this process with the village about 2 years ago, and at that time we came in to look at dividing that property into a 3-lot subdivision, and they said to be able to do that, any subdivision, even if it was just 2 lots, you'd have to vacate that 20-foot easement, or not easement, but 20-foot dedicated flag lot off of 151st. They said they would not allow any subdivisions on flag lots anymore. So they said you have to give it to a neighbor, do something with it. So that's how we proceeded. It's only 20 feet wide, so yeah, no, you couldn't build a street there.
No, you would, I mean, you own that 20 feet.
That is part of
What about the other 20 feet that the residents to the south have, where there
They
was
own
a
that.
combination, maybe an agreement between all parties?
Well, you'd still
where
need,
would
you
build
need
the
66, you need 66 foot of right of way. So you'd have to go in there, eminent domain, force the people to sell it to the village and put a street in. I don't think that would go over very well.
Right now, that land's really just all grass, right?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever asked?
There's a little bit of asphalt there.
When they built
Little bit,
Country
not
Woods,
much.
they put the stub street in for future development. That's what the village wanted. That was before anybody lived there.
I'm just trying to see if there's an alternative to the dogwood and that we could, maybe something could be worked out.
Eminent domain, the village could take it under eminent domain and condemn it and take it and build a street.
Maybe by the time we have the next meeting, sir, you would be able to answer the...
Yeah, we can explore and certainly look at the options. I understand your question. We can certainly look at the options as we move forward. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone's got their information on it, and George, you're gonna see about getting everything together that we need to get the best answer for everyone here?
Yes.
All right, and if we could look into that street coming off 151st Street, and what did the fire department say now? Because I didn't hear what...
They were fine with the layout, they just want to make sure that's proper suppressions in there.
Coming in from Country Woods, though?
Yes, they were fine with that, yes.
All right, but I agree that 151st should be an entrance, and I think it would also be good for a fire department.
And if you could look at, you know, like I said, maybe making it switching the 5 and the 3, or even if it was just maybe 4 and 4.
Yep, we'll look at that as well. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll go back to what I was saying. We can see if we can get 191st entrance.
151st.
Or 151st entrance. I don't know, if God forbid something big happened, you're not going to get out of Country Woods, not without another exit. So let's let them do what they have to do. They have a lot of work in front of them. And if you have questions, you can give them a call. Nothing's written in stone right now. This is just the beginning. So we'll have to wait to see where we get in the next couple weeks or months. And if you have any questions, put them down. turn them into us, and we'll be more than happy to give it to the builders, see what they want to do.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention.
So there are no questions on that, because otherwise I opened a can of wood. Okay. All right. Next is going to be legislation and action items. So is there a motion to approve the attached proclamation declaring October as Oaktober, Oak Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor. You're welcome. Jennifer, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so Jennifer made the first motion, and then Ruben?
Yes.
You second.
Second, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Nobody left.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And the proclamation is so tiny. So tiny. Okay, I'm going to do one whereas. After that, I'm not saying it anymore. Oak ecosystems have been a significant part of Illinois landscape for more than 5,000 years and are now in a state of decline across the entire state of Illinois. The state tree of Illinois is a white oak, and Illinois forest, woodland, and savanna communities have been greatly reduced statewide, and remaining oak ecosystems are declining in health due to the decline of the oak dominance. And these threats and declines are due to lack of public awareness, impacts the invasive species, poor management practices, and reduced resources. And oak ecosystems in Illinois provide needed food and support for native insects and wildlife. Oak trees and their companion species contribute to important native biological diversity, and research has shown that oak trees and forests improve our air and water quality, human health, social and economic well-being, provide jobs and review, and improve the overall quality of life for all citizens across all neighborhoods and community boundaries. And the Illinois statewide Forest Resource Assessment and Strategy identifies the loss of oak ecosystems as a critical issue for the health of forest resources in Illinois, and acknowledges a significant decline in oak dominance, the predominant forest types in Illinois, the change in forest landscapes, the decrease in forest health, and a significant need to teach the mechanics of oak regeneration, protect oak woodlands, and preserve our Illinois natural heritage. And the Illinois Wildlife Action Plan identifies the quality of wooded habitats in Illinois, a major concern, and the need to understand and manage oak decline in the state, and awareness of the threats and impacts to oak ecosystems. It is an important first step towards behavioral change and the opportunity to engage citizens to protect and improve the health and services of our oak ecosystems and natural resources overall. And Oak Awareness Month is an opportunity for government to join forces with businesses, industry, conservation groups, recreation groups, community organizations, and citizens to take action to support our native oak ecosystem. So therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that October 2021 is recognized as Oaktober, Oak Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, dated this 13th day of October 2021.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 2. Is there a motion to approve the village's trick-or-treat hours of 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Rose. Nikki. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fielko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-041, an ordinance granting a variance to permit LP Smart Side siding on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards required that stone or brick material cover 100% of the aggregate total area of all first floor or story exterior walls?
So move.
Wait.
Oops, sorry, we stopped.
Don't jump the gun. I do have to take a breath every once in a while. Exclusive to doors, windows, and associated trims, 75-67A, applicability and scope type of building or structure of Chapter 75 buildings of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located at the R1 Single Family Residential District in 14611 West Walnut Avenue, Homer Glen, Illinois.
So move.
Second.
Breathe. What happened to you being the first?
I figured I'd give it to somebody else first.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir. I just had a quick question. I was reading in the letter, I just want to make sure, because I went to go check the place out. Is this a complete knockdown buildup, or is it just a renovation?
Yeah, the applicant is looking to get some direction and approvals prior to them demoing an existing house at that location.
Okay, because normally, doesn't this go through planning commission?
A variance, the material variance does not go through plan commission, it goes directly to the board.
So even if they tear it down and rebuild it?
The new house is just a permit to build.
Oh, really?
Unless they're triggering some kind of variance or issue with the zoning code.
Mhm.
And the variance they're asking is in the building code. for those to do.
Which goes directly to the board.
So long as they're meeting code, it would just be a single family.
Who approved this?
So I would have liked to seen just their opinion on it, because to be honest with you, this house, if you look at it, it's kind of, it's like this little tiny little shack, and the two houses on the side are like $1 million homes made out of all brick.
There's a diversity of housing in that area. It's an older part of the town with quite a diverse type of architecture. We got brick, we got another variance within, I think across the street that was granted a couple years ago for a similar type material. So I think architecturally and with this type of material, it's not going to affect any of the home values in that area.
Okay, and then I have one more question. So I was looking up LP Smart Slide siding, and a whole bunch of stuff came up.
Yeah, I also did my research on it. Currently, they do offer, it's a 50-year warranty, and my research, I did find that maintenance is, I mean, you have to maintain it. You have to make sure, you know, every so often you keep everything caulked and painted and it's installed properly. And I guess in the past, when this type of product first came out, there were some issues regards to the way it was being installed and things like that, but those seem to have been resolved.
Okay.
There's no brick on this house whatsoever?
Pardon?
No brick whatsoever?
Not that, I believe not.
So you have paperwork that this builder has said that they're going to completely tear down the house that's there right now. I was
The
out on that-
applicant, I'm sorry, is the applicant here tonight? Maybe they can step up and answer these questions a little bit better.
I don't have a builder yet. I came here to get the variance before we go in that process because I wanted to know, my architect wants to know what the footprint's going to look like.
So your plan, though, is to tear that house that's there completely
Yes,
down? Is it being moved towards the street a little farther back, or is it going right where the old house was?
It will be right where the old house is, but bigger, larger.
Okay.
So it will be moved forward some, but still in the same place.
Will you be
2,800 square feet.
will you be using the same foundation?
No.
No? All right, so there will be a basement, so you're starting from scratch?
Yes, yes. Because the basement's like, I don't know, 6.5 feet. It's just really small. So I'm going for a 9-foot basement.
With your design that you have, do you think that the expense would be that much more to put brick veneer on the front of that to be compatible with the code and with the surrounding homes?
Well, it's really not compatible. If you look at the pictures that I submitted, those are on my street. I mean, and those are just a few close to me. You can't really say my street looks a certain way because it doesn't.
When I say compatible, I mean the houses to the east and the houses to the house to the west. I know throughout that area, there are other houses that are old, very old. A lot of them are very old, and they have other types of siding on here, and I did see those pictures. But I'm just saying, if you were to have to go with the brick veneer, what percentage would that increase the cost of your build, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure.
We don't allow brick veneer.
Yeah, as I say, you can do brick, but not the brick.
Well, brick veneer is just bricks stacked on top of each other. That is brick veneer. I'm not talking the lick and stick brick.
Brick veneer.
Brick veneer is just the, on the foundation and just the one layer of bricks. That's brick veneer.
Brick veneer is just brick is allowed. Brick veneer, stone, yeah.
Typically, Joe, you call it brick veneer, one layer bricks, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Blaha.
No.
Trustee Fialko.
No.
Trustee Cancelino.
No.
Trustee Reinders.
No.
Trustee Rogers.
No.
Trustee Pazmino.
No.
Well, motion does not carry. We're going to have to work about what you want to build right now, because they're not going to approve this one.
Because of the type of siding or because, why?
Personally, I'd like to see some brick. That's just me.
Same with me. I'd like to see some brick, maybe at the bottom half, not fully brick, but adding that I think would change the look a little bit.
I agree, and since, maybe if it wasn't a complete tear down, but, the two houses next to you are just castles.
Maybe I could recommend that the applicant work with staff in redesigning and maybe adding some brick or stone features.
Yeah.
If that's possible, or...
The house I'm tearing down is all vinyl sided, so whatever I do is going to be better than that. Much better. You don't like LP siding, or what are you saying? You just don't like no brick?
I think what we're saying is, per the village code, it requires a certain amount of brick to be on the facade, and at this point,
Certain amount. I thought it was.
you're not there.
So what is?
Joe, what percent is it?
Well, currently, the first floor, the
First
code
floor.
reads first floor brick, right?
It would all have to be brick.
But
I'm
am
not saying that the whole house.
am
has
I
to be
getting
brick.
direction from the board that potentially some brick features or stone features, at least on the front of the house, and maybe some accent features would be under consideration?
Yes.
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 So that would still need a variance for that, though, since I have to have it full brick.
Correct.
Be in code.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, you'll still need the variance, but I think in this way, it allows you to do, like they said, some brick accents, things like that, and working with the architect. You'd come back for the variance, but it wouldn't have to be 100% brick at that point.
Quick question, is hardy board an option? It's like a stone hardy board?
Oh, it's not, hardy board is not it's a cement material, it's not stone or brick veneer. I mean, it's a different type of material.
That would require board approval by a variance.
As well, right, yeah. And it's a very similar looking material, cement fiber siding. And we've allowed that before too. But in those instances, there has been brick or stone features included.
Right, with that,
Chimneys
right.
or maybe a half
Yeah.
course or something
Yeah,
like that.
half course of brick and then the rest of it siding. Yeah.
So I can maybe sit down with the applicant, if you're okay with that, and we could talk about some other maybe possibilities or options as far as adding some stone or brick features.
I think that would work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that one? All right, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-042, an ordinance granting approval of modified standards in lieu of 220-1005-E.2 of the Homer Glen Village Code for temporary signs through December 31st, 2022, as part of the COVID economic recovery plan for Homer Glen?
So move.
Second.
Pasmino, Fialko, discussion.
Well, I think it's important that we take this into consideration. You know, there's still so many businesses that are suffering from the effects of COVID, and, you know, here we are sitting here with masks on still, and there's a lot of people who don't want to go into restaurants and stores for either pro-mask or anti-mask. So I think it's important that we continue to try to support the local businesses and allow this temporary signage to go through the end of the 2022.
I agree. And
I agree with you both.
I drove up Bell Road today and I see that iFixit is open.
All right.
So if they didn't have the banner, I wouldn't know that yet.
I think extending it a year is great. Gives everybody plenty of time to kind of get their
We just
bearings
gotta,
together.
we just gotta be careful that there's not 15, 20, 30 signs in front of each building, because then it takes away from everything. Then people are totally lost to where
Yeah,
they're at.
and some of them I've noticed, and I've talked to Joe, and he's been on it and great about it, but some of them I've noticed that they're in the right of way and they do affect site visibility. So when people are trying to pull in and out, they can be somewhat dangerous. But I know that Casey and Joe have been really good about working with the businesses on them, so.
Okay, is there anything else?
There's one thing that I did want to make a change to, sign size. Now, this is in reference to, I'm assuming, any temporary signage like banners and so forth. I think 25 square feet is rather small, especially when you are really far off the road.
5 square feet? That's
5 by 5.
And where are you talking, against the building, out on the easement, on the right
Well,
right
I
away?
mean, technically, especially if you're driving down 143rd, 159th Street, you're not 99.9% of the time, you're not walking on the sidewalk, you're driving. So it's just easier. Basically, I'm saying make that bigger. So instead of 25 square feet, maybe, you know, you do something, I don't know, 100 square feet. Because there's huge buildings.
That's a lot.
Well, I mean, but if you really look at it, the square footage. Well, not really, because if you look, let's say an example, it's like a long banner size. Maybe you want to cover the whole front of the building, and it's 4 feet tall, but it's going to be.
Could we base it on the size of the building?
Yeah.
I would say base it on this.
Let me just give you some reference in the code for monument signage, just so you know from like a square footage standpoint. Single tenant signs are maxed out at 65 square feet for permanent monument signage for a single tenant. And if you have a multi-tenant sign, you can have 120 square feet. So you can imagine that that's pretty big, actually, the 120 square foot sign. So I don't think we would want to go larger than for temporary signage for what's currently allowed just for our permanent monument signage. That's just.
What was your recommendation as far as square footage, though?
I mean, I would just think maybe under what we allow for single tenant permanent monument signage.
Which was 65, you said?
65 is the max for single tenant.
So what do you do when you have like one of those strip mall size buildings and you have 4 different storefronts in one?
So like if you have more than, if you have space, you can have 2 single tenant signs, or if you get a PUD, you get approvals for additional monument signage. If you have multi-tenant panels within one sign, you can have 120 square feet copy area for the multiple tenants.
The issue with multi-tenant centers, though, is that if more than one tenant wants to put a sign out, they have to space those signs at least 50 feet apart, and they need enough frontage to do that, and then they need enough area not to block the next sign or frontage or anything else that's going on, create visibility issues through visibility planes. So I think we need to think about that a little bit too. We were just thinking about some of the centers today that are tightening the distance between signs, because right now they're supposed to space them apart, and that can be difficult.
50 feet, yeah.
You have just 200 feet and you've got, 6 tenants, to get everybody in there.
Would the same apply, like when we're talking about like the larger, single standing, like the farms, like with the pumpkin farms? So would the same apply with the signage for them as well?
I don't think they're allowed to have temporary signage. I have to look at the code, because I don't know if they're allowed to have temporary signage. They are only allowed to have a produce sign, one produce sign.
This is just dealing with commercial properties.
Oh, okay.
Well, I could see the blockage part. I was referring more to like on a building. You're not blocking anybody. It's on your facade or it's on the side of your building. And as long as it's in your rented area, you're not overlapping onto somebody else's space.
Agriculture.
I'm just looking at, scenarios.
Well, I think it should be based on the size of the building. I mean, we can't just say.
That's my
we
thought.
just- yeah, we just
Rose,
can't say
I don't think it's fair to put one
Yeah.
standard when you're
on all
talking about
buildings,
footage.
yeah, because there are a lot of standalone buildings in Homer Glen, and if they want to put something across the front of their building, well, then why should they be limited to a small sign?
And again,
This is-
it's temporary signage. It's not.
Right, it's
Yeah, this is not permanent.
Well, it sounds like there's some changes that you're looking to make to the signage ordinance,
No, this
the
is just temporary.
I know, but that's part of the
still gotta
signage
change it,
ordinance.
yeah.
Wait, hold, I understand. But what I would like to do, if it's okay, I'd like to bring this back to CED and get the thoughts from what the actual, some of the business owners that we have. Also, I'd like to see like frame of reference. So what does a 25 square foot look like and what does a 50 look like? That kind of, some visuals before we kind of just throw some numbers out there.
Well, there are differences, just because sometimes you're looking at a block that's, that could be the same square footage, it's just a long banner that runs all the way alongside.
Yeah, so I think we could maybe call like a local sign company and say, give us some renderings, almost as if you were going to buy the banner. Hey, I want to buy a 100 square foot banner along one, show me just so we have some frame of references. But I also think it needs to go back to CED before if we're going to, change it that much.
Well, if we
Suggestion, because the deadline for the current temporary allowances that have been relaxed is November the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
If it pleases the board, I would recommend moving ahead with this ordinance as is. We can take it then back to the next CED meeting.
Okay.
It won't be until December.
Does that sound?
Yeah.
November.
well,
Well, I think 25
It's
square
too
feet
small.
is too small.
Yeah,
let's go with, I would recommend we go with the 65, send it back to the committee, as Beth said, but for
agree.
right now, keep it at 65, where you said that was the maximum, correct? So why don't we change it to 65, and if it needs to be adjusted after that, because there's a little bit of urgency that we have here with the businesses want to do this and
winter time is
get
coming.
moving forward.
Yeah, the holidays are coming,
And the
so.
holidays are coming,
get
so
it.
I would suggest go with the 65, amend it from 25 to 65 square feet if everybody's on board with that.
I'm on board.
I think the other option would be to just extend our current one till the end of the year. So the one that we have in place right now, extend it to the end of the year so that we have the time to massage the one that you're looking to propose for
And
2022.
something gets out there. So you're not.
Because I think it's important that we see a frame of reference when we're talking about numbers like 65 square feet.
I just want to make sure this happens. So let's try to, I think this is really beneficial for our businesses like now, like she said. So let's,
Yeah, the holidays are coming and people
They are
like,
hurting.
what are they
Yeah, so
doing?
that's what I'm saying, extend the
amend it
one
to
that we
65?
have until the end of the year, so that gets
55?
holidays.
Is that what you're saying?
And they have the same thing
Yeah, but
as they've
make a
done.
motion to amend, I don't
Okay.
think you did that yet.
All right,
Melissa,
so I
what did
motion
you-
to amend? Can I make a motion to amend?
I'll second that.
So we're just changing the maximum to 65 square feet on this temporary, and then we'll go back and change it later.
If need be.
We were talking about ground signs, and so the 65
Right.
square feet is a ground sign regulation. But then we jumped into wall signs, so wall signs are by frontage.
Okay.
Or business identification or permanent signage, which is okay, this is the current reference for understanding what could be allowed.
This is during the promotional fund, though.
Right.
It's very different than business identification.
I do think, though, it's important with frame of reference, Beth, like you said, and I think we can provide the committee with plenty of permits to show you what that would look like. We would just show you permanent wall sign that would look like, you know, how much copies allowed. It's typically 1.25 square feet per frontage. That's what's allowed for permanent wall signs.
Right. Well, this is more be like, you know, again, for the holidays, banners.
And this is
now hiring signs,
Right, and
holiday
it's all
signs.
temporary.
Do the most that we can to get a visual from the street.
And there's one more amendment I'd like to make to this. That would be the second bullet from the bottom where it says code enforcement will follow up with businesses exceeding the number of allowed signs. The type of sign, improper placement of ground signs, and other complaints related to these standards. What I'd like to add to that is without penalty with at least two warnings, because with the confusion of the change, I want to make sure that we're not penalizing businesses in Homer Glen for something they may not understand completely. So I would like to add without penalty with two warnings as the minimum.
It's fine with me.
Two warnings.
I mean, that's fine, but again, I think that what Melissa is saying is correct. You're confusing the 65 with monument signs and ground signs as opposed to temporary signage. Because you're adding a lot of signage potentially to
Well, the
this town.
65 would be promotional temporary signs that would be attached to the building, not freestanding.
And just because it's at 65 doesn't mean every business is going to go to 65.
But they can.
They would be able to temporarily.
Can we
correct.
specify?
I just think that it's important you guys see a frame of reference, and I would encourage you to also, because like I said, I see it every day, drive down Cicero from, you know, say 159th to 127th, and because that's what it's going to look like. And if you're okay with that, you know, then I respect your opinion, and that's fine. But I encourage you to look at that because their sign ordinance is
very busy.
very, and it's very distracting. I won't give my opinions on it, but I would encourage you to do this. I think you're rushing to push something that, okay, it expires on November 1st. We're not going to send Joe out on November 1st if we know that we're looking to come up with some solution and work with the businesses. It's not like he's going to run out and start tearing down signs and things like that. And again, out of respect for committees, I think you should let CED have a look at it and come back to you with their recommendation. You know, to not take committees' thoughts and opinions into consideration, I think it's just disrespectful.
So what do you want to do, guys?
Well, we do still have that amendment.
Well, we have the two amendments up for vote, so.
Can I get some clarification on the amendments? Trustee Fialko, I understand you want without penalty and, you know, if two mistakes or whatever.
Two warnings.
Two warnings.
Two warnings without penalty.
Yeah.
Then after that, the other thing that was changed by Trustee Pazmino was to move it to 65 square feet.
Okay, so is it a ground sign? Is that a banner sign? Is that a wall sign?
Signs, promotional temporary signs attached to the building, not freestanding on the ground where they're blocking visuals.
So what's it going to be for?
Right.
Okay.
That'll make the most sense.
Ground-mounted signs would remain at 25.
Okay.
Is 25 good for everybody? For the ground mounted? Yeah, that's about
Yeah,
right.
that's
good.
right.
Yeah, it's closest to the cars. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, no, I think 25 is fine. I think I agree with Beth. You know, we want to make sure that we're not, you know, looking like a carnival.
Yeah, I would suggest go down Cicero.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they
God
said the
bless
same
them,
thing
but
with the.
go down Cicero and take a look and see what it is.
They said the same thing with the flag banners, and only 3 or 4 people use them. And it
Well,
was
I don't think we have the amount of businesses that we're talking about down Cicero Avenue. And what I'm hearing tonight is there's a sense of urgency because, yes, winter is coming, and businesses are really hurting right now.
Yeah.
And that's,
for us small business owners.
and I think, you know, you have trustees that are trying to say this without saying how badly everything is hurting. So it's, why add more salt to the wound? I would prefer to help our businesses.
In the code, you have, Janie, you have a percentage, correct? That you work with?
For sign coverage?
For sign, yes.
For a permanent wall?
Yes, you talked in reference to a percentage instead of a square footage.
It's 1.25 times the frontage. So if you have like a 20-foot frontage or a 30-foot frontage, you multiply that by 1.25. So a lot of businesses have a 20 or 25-foot frontage. It's pretty common to have that kind of small space, and that's, if you can imagine, that's not a lot of copies, you know, for even permanent.
To accommodate what we're talking about, though, do you think it would be better to change the percentage than just put a square footage?
I mean, that's up to you. That's why I was clarifying, because the ground sign is the one that's the 65, and it's a pretty big sign.
Yeah.
If I can add a little bit more information, our code does currently allow temporary business identification signs. This is for putting up like a vinyl banner on the facade outside, maybe because the business is going to open before the permanent sign actually is installed. So they get their, you know, they're able to be open and be identifiable right from the start. And that is sized exactly the way a permanent sign is, which is the 1.25 times the frontage. So it's proportional to the front of the building for that tenant. So, and that if it's a single user building, it would still be 1.25 times the frontage. So it would be proportional. So that might make more sense if you want to give a larger user, you know, the advantage of having a proportional sign to their facade and doing a wall banner that is promotional, not business identification, but promotional in this case. If you wanted to do that, and then they could advertise holiday or whatever, you know.
Right.
And then just keep the ground mounted sign at 25 square feet.
Right. So are you saying at some point the 65 square feet would be larger than 65 on some buildings because it's a huge business and smaller on others because it would be a smaller business?
65 square feet is not going to make sense for 90% of our businesses because they don't have that frontage. They won't, yeah, I mean, that would be 6.5 by 10 feet or something like that to give you an idea. That's a huge sign. So, you know, a lot of our businesses have 25 feet of frontage or 30 feet of frontage.
I think I have 60.
They'll never be able to do that.
That's what I'm saying, it should be according to the building size.
Yeah. To their frontage, that makes sense. They get to use full advantage of their frontage. It would be the same size as their permanent sign, their permanent name sign, but this would be for promotional purposes. If you want to up the square footage that would be allowed on the wall, that would be one solution.
Well, I think coming before a CD would be the best thing.
We still have the November 1st deadline for the current standards that is going to expire, and the CED meeting won't be until
Yeah, that's why I think we should just put this through and then bring it back to
Yeah, and then you can come up with a percentage to go parallel with it, because at this point, I don't know what the percentage would be. And maybe if you came back with the percentage and what you're talking about,
1.25.
it's 1.25, but what would it increase to?
That's what she's saying is up to you guys.
Right.
Right, and that's what we don't know yet.
Right.
So I say I would recommend sticking with the 65 square feet for the wall, 25 for the ground, and then once it goes to committee, we can make the amendment at that time. That way, the businesses can move forward with the holiday season coming right around the corner.
And then you change it a couple months later and they spend a lot of money on stuff that they can't use again.
Well, that's if you would reduce.
Well, they know these are temporary signage anyway. This is temporary. This is for the emergency. This is for the Restored Illinois. And we tell them up front, hey, just so you know, this is a one-time deal.
Well, I see what you're saying, Mayor. I understand.
It just, you know.
But at the same time, we've got to do something for the businesses here, though, too. And leaving it at 25 is way too small.
Well, let me ask you
You're
this.
talking about the ground
Has a
sign.
lot of the businesses,
There's so much
Talking about two
confusion
different
here,
people.
that's why this, it is. Christina, please speak up, because you deal with these all the time, so.
Okay, so what the girls were saying is 1.25% is the square footage of the building. Like you get 1.25%. I mean times.
It's just a raw number. So if you have like, if your frontage is 20 linear feet, you take 20 times 1.25.
5. That gives you the size of your sign.
Is the area that you can construct your sign Oh,
Right.
that's the allowance that you have for your sign, it's 25 square feet. So it's 1.25 times, in other words, it's 125% larger than your linear frontage, and that will be the square foot area that you have to work with.
But you're talking about two different things. When you say 65 square feet, you were saying 25 is too low, but you weren't talking about the 25 square feet. You guys were referencing the linear feet. Right. So you're talking about two different signs, designs. And the only reason why I was suggesting is changing that 1.25 or whatever is because you guys are saying temporary signs, but maybe later on, if you guys want to change the sign code or notice this works or it doesn't work, maybe the businesses can reuse these signs later on. You might change it again and say 65 was way too big. And again, the 65 feet is not going to work for 90% of the businesses here.
Right, but that's assuming, I mean, ultimately, it's the end user that's going to decide the size that's good for them. That's what I'm saying. We're not forcing them to use the 65 square feet. We're saying, hey, if you need up to this certain size, here you go. We're not going to tear you down.
But other buildings might want to go larger than 65.
Only 165. That's the limit. I would, I mean.
But then you guys were saying 25 was too small, but that's a different sort of.
25 is too.
25 is for the ground.
Right. 25 for the
25
ground.
for the ground.
But Trustee Fialko was saying 25 was too small.
We're not changing that.
You're not changing it.
We're not changing that for the ground.
Okay, that's contradictory to what he just said, so that's why I'm saying you guys are all talking about different things.
They're talking.
They want to change they want to change the size of the wall banner, not the ground. So the motion isn't.
But Trustee Fialko seconded it, so he's not saying what Trustee Piazmino is saying.
We have to amend it.
Yeah. You need to
Right?
take it. You made the motion for the ground sign.
Well, I didn't say ground sign, but okay, so what do we do here?
Can we,
I didn't say ground sign. I just
Carrie, can you help
Carrie, can you
Trustee
help us out?
Piazmino out, please?
I think we need to establish the size of the ground sign and the size of the
Thank you, Rosie.
banner that is going on the facade of the building.
Not on the same page, is what I'm saying. You two, the two people that made the motions are not on the same page.
Okay,
So
Dan?
Ruben and Dan have to change it.
You're sticking with the 25.
For the ground.
The ground sign.
The 25 on the ground is fine. You're addressing the wall sign. We're going with whatever it is that you recommended,
That's what I thought I said.
which was 65, correct?
Amen.
And you're leaving the ground at 25.
Leaving the ground at 25.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
And that's the amendment, correct? And you made the original motion, and you made the second, so that's the motion to amend, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rogers.
No.
Trustee Piazmino.
Yes.
Trustee Laha.
Yes.
Trustee Fialko.
Yes?
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Yes.
That was for the,
Carries.
There goes.
Such a circus.
Don't worry. Is there a motion to approve the proposed IGA between Homer Township and the Village of Homer Glen regarding the transfer of Homer Township Park properties?
So moved.
Subject to the final attorney modification based upon comments discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
more?
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Piazmino.
Aye.
Trustee Laha.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure the board approved the amendments. I don't know if we're counting that as approval of the item as amended or.
You are right, Matt.
Pending,
Right.
it's going to be.
Yeah, it's subject to final attorney.
I know we've done it different ways, so I just want to make sure. Okay.
We said it.
Carrie agreed? Carrie, you in agreement? Does that sound right?
Yes, you approved the amended
But not the motion.
governmental agreement as amended by the
No.
conference.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry.
we're talking
I'm
about,
Oh, no. He was
sorry.
talking about
The sign item.
I-4.
Too many people talking.
The signs, you approved 65 square feet.
no, the
Excuse me.
The question is about the amendment, the motion on the amendment, the vote.
You moved on the amendment.
Now we have to move on the
Probably
motion.
move to now adopt the ordinance as amended.
Because we've done it two different ways now, and I want to make sure that's the right way.
And we were talking I-4, correct?
Yes.
There was no, it hadn't been voted. There was a motion and a second, and then those same individuals amended their motion.
Okay, so there was a motion and second, and then they amended the motion to include those two.
Yes.
Correct.
Then you're okay with what you did. You adopted the ordinance in effect as amended.
Correct.
Okay, so that's done. So do we take a vote on it or no?
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next. Motion to separate the Parks and Facilities Division from Public Works and to create a Village Parks and Recreation Department.
So move.
Second.
Rose and Ruben. Discussion.
I would also like to include in the, as we are doing the reorganization, if we can have Amy and Sue Stylen reorganized under the Parks and Recreation Department.
It's a motion?
Sure, yeah, we'll incorporate that into the next organization chart that the board will adopt.
So do I have to do an amendment? No.
No, it's not.
I think that's just a direction, and then once that item will come back in the future at the next, hopefully next board meeting, and then
Okay.
you guys can vote on it at that.
Okay.
Yeah, because
You
we
don't
don't
need an
have it
amendment.
now.
You're just directing them, this is how we want
Okay.
you to handle it.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, I just hope that everybody took the time to read the survey relative to what the staff's thoughts were on this and take that into consideration.
Okay, we're set there then? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
That was moved. There was one from the consent that was moved
All
tonight.
right, so I just got to read this. All right, next would be motion for consideration. Is there a motion to approve payment draw number 5 from the guarantee escrow for the construction of the Fittiman Creek Sanitary Sewer Extension in the amount of $58,857.75? It is understood that the remaining balance of the escrow will be $23,543 even.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko.
Second.
Jen?
Yes.
Is either Kathy or David Boo here today? No?
No, they're not out there.
All right, well, I was hoping that either one of them or both of them would be here today, but being that they are not, I guess we can move forward with accepting it the way it stands, in my opinion.
Okay, anyone else have a comment? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Motion carries. We've already done the workshop, so we are at old business.
I'd like to request to add something into old business for discussion.
Okay.
This is in regards to Seraphin and Associates. I know everybody thought I was going to leave quietly tonight, but I'm not. What I want to discuss is what I've had to find on my own with this. And I also want to explain to everybody what this has to do with. Ballot initiatives are referred to as a ballot measure, popular initiative, voter initiatives, citizen initiatives, and propositions. Ballot initiatives may take the form of either the direct or indirect initiative. Under a direct initiative, a measure is put directly to a vote after enough signatures are submitted. What is a referendum? It is a general vote by the electorate on a single political question that has been referred to them for a direct decision. Electioneering involves actively advocating for or opposing a political candidate, agenda, or party in an election. Ranges from canvassing to advertising nationally on television to a broad variety of other things. through advertising, and it has sparked numerous constitutional controversies. Electioneering with village funds is illegal. It's very illegal. We had a referendum on November 3rd, 2020, election ballot in Homer Township, asking our residents to vote on whether or not they wanted the Homer Township Road District to be abolished and taken over by the Village of Homer Glen. Our village attorney and our former village manager, Carrie Freeling, hired a political public relations firm by the name of Seraphin and Associates in July of 2020 to provide services to help sell the referendum in favor of the village winning the takeover of the road district. This alleged contract between our village attorney, Eric Hansen, and Seraphin Associates states their services were to start from September 2020 and go full force through April 2021. They agreed to payment that consisted of $4,000 per month to include up to 20 monthly hours of professional consulting time. And they were permitted to go above this amount at a rate of $200 per hour. This alleged contract appears to have cost our taxpayers $40,000. Why was this contract funneled through our attorney Eric Hansen's firm to Seraphin and Associates when the Village of Homer Glen staff and elected officials utilized their services for a ballot initiative? It appears to me and other trustees on this board that our village electioneered with our village funds. Unfortunately, we wouldn't have any of this information if I had not noticed extremely vague fees over the past year from Eric Hansen's firm that claimed miscellaneous fees to Seraphin and Associates. It was under our Public Works section. When I inquired repeatedly with the attorney and our acting interim village manager, I received no response. Instead, I had to resort to FOIAing our staff and our village attorney, Eric Hansen. FOIA has proved a little more productive, but still has not provided for me all of the information that I have requested. I would like to ask the village attorney and the acting interim village manager to explain the services tonight provided by Seraphin and Associates and why there is zero transparency with how they spent $40,000 of our tax-paying dollars on electioneering. I'd also like to know how they think that this is legal to do this with village funds. And I want to describe the work that was performed that I was told by our village attorney. Drafting and issuing fact sheets or response letters, assisting with the Village of Homer Glen resolutions to pursue transfer of stewardship, Mayor Yukich's letter to residents explaining importance of transfer, frequently asked questions regarding the transfer, a letter from mayors of Lockport, New Lenox, and Lamont in support of a transfer, standby media statements, press releases, village responses to legal issues, launching communications effort, including content for following channels. What's at stake? Social media and newsletter. Q&A, social media and newsletter. Bless you. What village control will mean? Social media and newsletter. Fact versus myth, social media and newsletter. Testimonials from former mayors, social media posts. Developing PowerPoint presentations that were used for briefings, outreach, public access information screens, community meetings, council meetings, attending on-site work sessions, including informational briefings, village board meetings, village public information sessions. It's all yours.
I've already responded to that in writing. You have those. There was nothing illegal that took place at all. If you disagree with the fact that the village decided to move forward with that, that's a decision that the previous village manager made. However, for you to make allegations that this was illegal electioneering, that's not accurate. And secondly, in terms of, you keep asking for many of the same items that don't exist. You have a copy of the contract.
It doesn't have a date.
I'm sorry?
It's not dated.
Okay, and I've told you, I've provided you with the invoices, I've provided you with all kinds
The
of...
invoices were extremely vague.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
The invoices are vague, but the invoices are what they are. So...
That's not transparency.
I believe it is transparency. You were also provided, the list that you just read, trustee, are the items that they performed. I don't understand what the disconnect is between what I've provided to you, what they've performed, the information that they provided to the village, the information that they did with regard to the road district, and obviously this was also litigation support. We were under the impression that we were going to get sued. We were sued, and we were successful. So I'm not sure what else you can be asking for. Like I said, I gave you a response. You emailed me just the other day asking for more information. I told you I would get that to you by the end of the week. So,
Eric, in the case with Seraphin and Associates, during the time that the township did sue us, did Seraphin and Associates participate in that lawsuit?
maybe I didn't understand what the first part of your question?
Seraphin and Associates, right? That's another law firm that we hired, or you hired. Now, the other thing is, just for clarification, did the board hire Seraphin and Associates, or did you hire them individually on your own?
It is not another law firm. It's a public relations firm. And they were brought in to provide litigation support and obviously PR information because we knew we were going towards litigation. And in terms of how it was handled, it was because it's litigation support, our law firm entered into the contract and it was reimbursed by the village. That's per the village manager's
And that's typical for something like that, besides just your law firm itself taking care of all the steps when there's a lawsuit from the township? It didn't seem that complicated. Did you feel that that was absolutely necessary to bring in a consultant to advise a law firm on how to progress forward with that?
It wasn't fully my decision. It was the village manager stated that she believed this was a good idea to have some additional support, but it is common for law firms to bring in consultants of various sorts related to litigation.
Yeah, because this is new to me, and I just want to understand all parts of the machine here and what's going on. Had you used them in the past for the village of Homer Glen?
No.
For anything else? Just that was the first and last time?
For the village of Homer Glen, correct.
Yeah. Okay. As far as transparency, was talked about a few times here tonight. Do we feel that we've been 100% transparent with everything that's been requested from you and the village as far as...
Absolutely. I've given documents, and Trustee Consolino is basically of the opinion that she isn't happy with the results.
I think one of her concerns was, and it would be a concern of everybody's here, when you have a contract with somebody without a date. I mean, that kind of, do you know why it did not have a date at that time?
I'll have to take a look at the draft. I believe it had a date of when it was effective, when it began. I'm not sure if the actual date that was executed is not on there, but it has a term when it began and a term when it ends.
And I haven't seen it myself, but there's definitely, for the money that was spent, it was like $20,000.
40.
$40,000? Okay, I see, this is new to me. There is specific step-by-step what the village paid for with that $40,000. I mean, because we were concerned about bringing in legislative counsel, right? But yet we're going to spend $40,000 on somebody helping out a law firm with something that you would think that you would be well equipped to take care of. So that would be just one of my concerns.
This was for PR, making sure the message related to the litigation and anything related to the road district transfer, that the messaging was accurate. Our law firm does not provide the messaging to the public. This was very important. Obviously, as you know, we went through this IGA with the road district right now, and the village secured, $4 million in assets, approximately? So I believe spending an additional $40,000 to make sure that the public was informed on what was going on, what the benefits of this transfer were, everything related to that. This wasn't a situation where our law firm is equipped to do the PR. And Carrie Freiling, I don't want to speak for her, but I don't believe she felt that there was the capacity in-house to be able to provide this messaging to the public as well. That was the reason for it.
And your main method of communicating through Seraphin Associates was, what was the main mechanism for communication when it came to what you asked them to do for the village?
Emails and phone calls. And all those emails have been provided to Trustee Consolino.
Okay, but and here's my confusion. You said it was for the public, right? So the public would get to know and the communication would be out there, but then you're saying through emails. So they emailed every...
My communications. You asked what my communications were with Seraphin.
Okay, what was Seraphin's communication with the public to get the message out?
Everything that Trustee Consolino just read from. There was social media, there were articles, there was social media, there was quite a bit of stuff that was out there for the messaging to the public.
All right, I'm just saying it because I was involved in the road district issue as far as a citizen and speaking up in October, but I don't remember anything ever coming directly from Seraphin and Associates myself. Not that it wasn't out there. It's just that I don't remember seeing anything.
It wasn't coming from Seraphin. It was prepared by Seraphin for the village.
Right. Even those documents that you're speaking of, I don't.
Can I clarify with those documents, what was provided by the village is identical to the documents that were provided by Seraphin? Between social media, newsletters, public releases. Yeah, so everything's identical. And
yeah, they prepared those for the village and the village used them. Of course they're going to be identical.
So then my question is, how do you distinguish between messaging about the road district as opposed to electioneering for it?
There's no electioneering going on at anything. All this was is we were in a position to be able to take over the road district because we didn't know where it was going to go. Mr. DeVivo was getting up in years. He wasn't sure if he was going to run. He didn't know what to do. And he sat down with us and said that, here, let's see if we can get the village to take it because this is where it belongs in the first place, because most of the money for all the road district was paid out of here. When we did it, we didn't want the people that in this village to not understand anything we're doing. So we hired a firm that goes out and tells everyone exactly what they're doing. And if they had any questions, all they had to do is call me. And wipe the smirk off your face because it's not
Excuse me, that's a very unprofessional comment.
Thank you, Eric, for your...
Hold on, because I also... There is no electioneering when you are pointing out facts related to a ballot
initiative.
Correct.
Those weren't facts.
Yes, they were facts.
What are they?
However, nevertheless, because after November, the messaging...
It was advertisement.
Can I please finish?
No, she's a queen.
That's fine. I've given you my written responses.
No, I think that it's up to myself, the other board members, that this affects, and the taxpayers to decide if this is electioneering or PR.
Put it out there.
It is. This is why it's on the dais.
Oh, yeah, okay. That makes it right. All right. So,
Salt.
you have the salt update.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As you know, there's been a lot of, it's been challenging to get the prices for the road salt, mainly due to some ongoing litigation between Champion and another firm. Champion was the salt provider that provided salt to the road district last year. Fortunately, just recently, that litigation was settled. Skyline purchased Champion. So Skyline now is assuming that contract. So Director Woods got in touch with Daryl Kritz at Skyline to talk to them about the quote. You have the price here on the screen in front of you. We just got a purchase agreement yesterday. So we would bring that forward to the board next meeting. This product is slightly more than the Midwest quote that was provided at A&F last week. However, this would be kind of an assumption of the contract from the road district. So if we had to go with Midwest, the road district might be obligated to their past contract to purchase an additional 3,500 tons. Obviously, that's not good for the taxpayers to have 7,000 tons of salt. So this is the product that was used last year. We were able to use almost 15% less salt because of using the treated for the certain temperatures, and it was very successful according to the crew that used it. So at the next meeting, we'll have that action item to approve the purchase agreement with Skyline.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
So we're just waiting for them to get back to us in order to pull the trigger on this, or?
I have it now, but we just got it officially yesterday, so we didn't have time to put it on the agenda.
And as far as they're saying, no delays with delivery trucks or people making deliveries, so we will have the salt for the residents of this community?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any new business? Next is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for purposes of discussing Personnel.
So moved.
Who was first and who was second? Ruben, I heard you in there.
Rosie had second.
Ruben and Rosie. Okay. So I guess we're going to have lawyer number 2.
I gotta go to the restroom.
Okay.
A motion
Hold
to
on, I
adjourn?
couldn't.
A motion to adjourn?
No.
So everybody else has to leave?
Yes, everyone else is to leave. She went to the bathroom, I think.
I don't know.